Yeah.
how did that feel? Did you feel like you had accomplished what your parents were teaching you all along, that you need to make 100K? And by the way, how did you get from bartender to making 100K? The one leap into recruiting, all of a sudden you nailed it. I mean, because
just nailed it.
I love that, because that, you were passionate about what you wanted to do. You knew what the number was, and you put that out in the universe, and there it was.
Exactly. I very much believe in putting things out in the universe. That's exactly why I have my little Post-it at my computer on what I want to accomplish this year. It's very much about putting it out there. If you keep your dreams and goals inside, they're not going to ever become real, because you don't truly believe them. You don't truly believe them until you say them out loud.
Okay. So look, I'm on your page. All right. And I am the same as you. I've got my goals written down. I know what I want to make each month, and I know what I want to make in 5 years from now. But so many people call bullshit on that, right? Like, you're gonna write it down and will it to happen. Explain how that happens, please, because I'm dead in the face telling people. I want you to tell them.
I would love to. So here's the thing. I think that most people don't make money, not because of failure to fall, or not because of that they're scared to fail, but they're scared to succeed. Mm-hmm. And I recently had this conversation with someone last week or 2 weeks ago, and I found that to be so interesting that she totally agreed with me. She was going off on this tangent about why people fail. And it's because, okay, for example, do you want to be rich? Do you want jet money? Do you want real money? Like, most people go, well, yeah, I'd want a jet. But then the next question is, would you feel bad about buying a jet? And a lot of people go, well, yeah, because, it's too flashy. It's too showy. There's kids that are hungry. There's, everyone goes off on all these tangents about why they don't actually want jet money. Mm-hmm. But the real matter is because society puts it as a negative thing. Mm-hmm. That's not negative. There's lots of things you can do with money. I'm just telling you, like, basically what I mean by jet money, and it's like a heck of a lot of money. And people are scared of that. They're scared to have it because they're scared of what people think. Mm-hmm. So I think when you put it out there in the universe, you're literally saying, this is what I want. I'm not embarrassed by it, and I'm not scared of it. And I think that a lot of people also fail because it's just plain fear.
Yeah, sure.
And my stepdad said to me, and I just repeated the words to him just this morning, which was funny, is he goes, what's the worst thing that can happen? You can always make more money. What's the worst thing that can happen? And I think that if you live your life like that, then you can start achieving things. And then I think that your mind is so powerful. I mean, there's so many reports of, cancer, for example. You put a negative person that has cancer and you have a positive person that has cancer, the same cancer. Who's going to survive? Most likely, the person who's positive. It's because they're putting it out there. And I also think I'm a really, really big person on this one, about a smile. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I believe that there's no way you can deliver bad news and someone believe you if you have a smile on your face.
Yeah.
And any moment that I'm either feeling down or just overwhelmed or whatever, I put that giant smile on my face and I go, and it's like a trigger. And this, again, is very researched. It's just a trigger in your brain saying that everything is okay.
Yeah. I love what your dad says about just make more money. That's one of my common lines around my house. And I had a proud husband moment the other day. We went to the Supercross event down here in Anaheim Stadium. And by the time we got through tickets and parking and food and beer and everything else, it was, and babysitter, it was a $500 day. And my wife's like, I feel so guilty about spending all that money. I said, yeah, it's okay. And she goes, you know what? We can just make more money. And I said, what? You're right.
Ding, 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 ding.
You're right. Tomorrow's Sunday. Let's get after doing some stuff. And she's, it's a great line, especially if you know what the goal is like we talked about, putting it out there. I want to make $100,000 a year. So I didn't mean to get too far off topic because you were right in the middle of getting ready to start your own business. But I think it's important. You know, your parents put it out there that $100,000 is the number, and you bounce from bartending and spa attendant to making $100,000 as a recruiter by saying yes to that opportunity, by the way. And there you were. You were spot on where you were told you needed to be. So good for you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, so it's Wednesday morning. Your boss finally calls back. You're like, it's too late. You're going to start your own business.
Yep, exactly. And I started it. And I mean, I don't want to say that's it, but because it's going to be 10 years in June.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Now, to be fair, I did not do it on my own. I started it on my own, but I did reach out, or he maybe reached out to me, I don't even remember at this point, but someone that I worked with reached out and said, hey, you're going, I'm going. I go, all right, you want to join? He's like, okay. So I did have a business partner at the time that I joined. And I think for me then at that moment, that was important because I went into it totally blind, and it was almost like he was my comfort blanket in a way. You know, it was like, okay, well, first of all, failing was never an option for me, but if I fall straight on my face, at least I'm falling with somebody else. And then then we'll just pick it back up and do it again. I mean, who knows? But I bought him out almost 3 years ago.
Good for you.
Which is great. Yeah, super great. Partners are partners. It's you kind of live and die by that. But and we ended up hiring. What he was good for is that he did push me to, I think big, dream bigger, not dream bigger. So I was dream big, but maybe think bigger when it comes to like employees and stuff like that, and having a bigger operation. But I don't think we did it right. And so I cleaned house, basically, kept, really awesome people. And just 2 weeks ago, I doubled in size, wow. Which is pretty awesome because our demand is so huge right now that it's kind of silly to not grow.
Yeah.
And I didn't grow because I was a little scared. It's like I did it before. I didn't like it. In my mind, it was a fail, but I also didn't do it by myself. And I've learned from mistakes, and I know that I trust my gut like nobody's business. And the reason that we failed is because I stopped trusting my gut. I basically settled. So now I'm not settling. Now it's like whatever I think is what I think, and that's it.
So tell us about your business model and what you created, and you should probably go back to when you started because I'm not sure everybody understands what recruiting is exactly and what your business model is. So you left a recruitment job, you started your own company, you brought a partner in, which I love that you identified your needs, and that was to have a partner to give you that comfort zone. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, to have partners in business. And but anyways, tell us exactly what your business model was, because I think it's fascinating when people start their own businesses, and then obviously you've succeeded.
Yeah. So the recruiting world is the most beautiful industry, in my opinion. It is, especially when someone thinks of like sales, for example. I think when people think of sales, you think insurance agent, car salesman, realtor, stuff along those lines. And they're actually selling a product. Recruiting is technically sales because you use a lot of the same concepts, but it's dealing with people's lives and livelihood. So you have a person that you have the ability to completely morph their lives and their family's life. And you have to think, what's more important than family? I mean, hopefully nothing for people, but a lot of times people will say their career, or it's at least second, right? It's either number one or number two in their life. So that is important, and that's extremely interesting. Like I've had people that I've placed that will say, "Oh my God, thank you so much. That my company went public. You were right, and I have a new house and all these things." You know what I mean? Like all of that. But so what I do is I work with companies who are my clients, and so let's just say Facebook, for example, because I only do tech. And I only do the Bay Area, and Facebook is something that relates to everybody, right?
Yeah.
Whether you use it or not, you know who they are.
Yeah.
So Facebook has, let's say, 11,000 engineers. We do software. And so, either their site or their mobile, that's being done by engineers. And so there is a huge drought of talented engineers. There's just not enough. There's still not enough people going to school for it, which I think is kind of crazy, especially because we're so technology driven now.
Yeah.
With autonomous cars, I have a giant client with that. It's like, oh my gosh, I won't even go off on that tangent. But, technology rules, right? So Facebook will come to me and say, hey, Brianna, I need, 20 software engineers with XYZ. Can you please get them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So what I will do is I will reach out to people. LinkedIn is a giant tool for me. So let's just say LinkedIn. I'll reach out on LinkedIn and I will start connecting and reaching out to people that I, deem worthy for this role based on what they have told me. And I will get them interested in Facebook. And then I will get their resume. I will set things up. I negotiate throughout the process for them. I set up the interviews. I'm pretty involved in all of it, which is really exciting. And so then once that person goes there, then Facebook pays me a percentage of their salary.
Sure.
So the person's not paying me. It's the company that's paying me, and their salary is not at all affected by me.
Right.
They have separate budgets for that. So I think a lot of people get confused by that, like that either the candidate pays or they're affected. They are not in any way affected. Like we are a completely separate budget, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
And so like we are contingency, so we don't get paid unless we have results, which I like that. I know there's a lot of firms that are retained, and tells me to do retained. I don't always believe in it because I believe that they should choose the right person for the job, not just because they owe me money. you know?
Yeah.
So I believe in results. And so what's amazing is in the Bay, their salaries are so large. In engineering in general, they're so large. They're going to be from 125 up to, 300, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get a percentage of that. And what brings me great joy is us recruiters make more than the engineers that went to school. So I can't help it, but that does make me. That makes me feel good.
So you don't have to disclose your rate, but what's the average? Because I've hired recruiters before, but what's the average rate that recruiters get for the salary? Is it 10%? Is it 15? 5?
Oh no! It's a 20 to 25%.
Yeah. I remember I was hiring. I was the vice president of Kettle One Vodka, doing all their PR and stuff,
nice.
And we needed a superstar. And we ran a pretty tight budget over there. I said, well, let's use a recruiter. And the first call, they were like, yeah, we get 20%. I was like, damn, that's a lot of money. We didn't budget for that. The Nolet Dutch family did not sign off on that. So we had to do it the hard way, and I feel like
it is hard.
We probably
that's real. That's hard.
It is. And we probably didn't get the talent we deserved because we didn't use an expert, and I love the resource that you provide. And yeah, for the company owners out there, let me just tell you from personal experience, bringing a recruiter to the table is worth the money because you're going to get the right person for the job. And I love hearing you talk about your passion for doing that because that's so important.
Oh, there's definitely a skill behind it. And it's, so first of all, it's like the company needs to do what the company does best, right? Mm-hmm. And to look for just one person is so time consuming, especially when you don't have already the time to do it. You don't even really know how to do it because there's a science to that. There's a science to Boolean searches and reading between the lines. And then you have to talk to the people. You have to, pass the sniff test. And then you have to, there's all these things that go into it that really take a lot of time and effort, and then it's very frustrating. So I just hired, right? And I did it myself because, well, of course I'm going to do it myself.
That's what you do.
but even then I actually understand why there's recruiters for recruiters.
Yeah. Because
I actually thought that was funny. I was like, recruiters for recruiters, but a recruiter can't find their own job. I mean, like, what? It's like, what do you mean? Or if recruiter firms can't find their own people, like they suck. But I get that because I've spent so much time, and I recently was also looking for an executive assistant. Holy moly, that took a lot of time.
Yeah.
Thank God I just found one.
Yeah, good
but
for
it
you.
took a lot of time. And it got to the point where I almost gave up. And I'm like, Brianna, this is what you do for a living. You've got to be kidding me. then I'm starting to talk to myself at that point, but yeah, there is definitely a science to it. And even though I'm good at what I do, it's still like, that's in a different realm, and it's still very time consuming for me, because I look at,